Doesn't matter because. And we need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of March 10th. I didn't have any questions.
I move that we approve the minutes of March 10th,
Okay.
but it wasn't a special meeting, was it?
No.
It's a regular meeting.
And John is going to second. And I have no problems. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And so let's go next to the water testing, because Linda, you can do that.
Yes, I have contacted Harbor Watch. We have a proposal, and we accepted a proposal from Nikki Spiller, who's taken the place of Sarah Crosby. We're now just trying to organize the science team with another local team, which is the Green. I can't think of the name right now. But we will have the science team performing the same nutrient testing that they did last year. I spoke to Nikki, and in regard to the oil spill, I spoke to Nikki about how we might test for that. And as far as testing water, they really can't do it unless there is a film on the surface of the water, which I don't, I haven't observed. I don't think that there is. Which would lead us to maybe testing the soil, in the pond edges. But I don't know, that's a completely different initiative. And here he is, here's my.
Yes, please come in. With props. Like,
With
where can
props
I
and
be?
everything.
And
Right
there's
here,
perfect.
right here, son, you need to be in the video.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm a few minutes.
Well, thank you for coming. I know this is a busy time of year for you.
Oh, yes, yes. Just got off a mower.
Yeah, an electric one, sure.
My boss.
I think we should probably discuss that at a later date if we really want to test the soil, to see if there's any, residue that could be damaging to a habitat.
So maybe we put it off to June.
Yes, well, the testing won't start until June.
Okay.
And for the nutrients or the river testing.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah.
June.
Right.
Okay, then we're going to introduce Jeff
Right.
Yes, hello.
Corlett. You do it because he's your guest.
I met Jeff at Earth Day. We were, presenting our paper on gas leaf blower restrictions, and Jeff was 2 tables down presenting his land care company that is an all-electric land care company. So he has very impressive credentials. He's, I checked his LinkedIn, and in addition to being the founder of Organic Ways and Means, he was executive director of NOFA, Northeast Organic Farming Association. That's the mission to ensure the growth and viability of organic agriculture, organic food, and organic land care in Connecticut. So I think he knows what he's talking about.
We'll see.
He also, which is of interest to us, since we're very interested in the bird population in Gristo, he was the education and events manager for the National Audubon Society in Greenwich. Is that
Right, for 10 years.
For 10 years.
As well, 8 years with the Sound Waters Organization.
Yes. And then before that, you were in Botswana.
You bet, you bet. I've been teaching since Botswana.
I may be one of the only people who have also been in Botswana.
That brings us back to the 90s.
Yeah. He should be able to provide us with some very valuable information, since objections to limiting GLBs come primarily from the land care companies, who then register complaints and problems with their customers, and thus the cycle of resistance is perpetuated.
How creative of them.
Some of the complaints are that the battery time on an electric blower is not sufficient for large properties. It would take longer to complete their work. Electric blowers are not as powerful as gas, and the upfront cost of buying electric is prohibitive. I've also heard the discussion that that 3 leaf blowers blowing would blow for less time than 1 leaf blower for 3 leaf blowers for 1 hour, 1 leaf blower for 3 hours. So we were just basically the same problem, but that isn't exactly correct, but that's what one landscaper told me.
It's understandable. I hear things like that.
You hear things like that. All right, so if you could just take the floor.
Okay,
and-
well, thank you for inviting me to your official meeting. I am basically a lifetime environmental educator, and I've spent most of my career here in Fairfield County. I grew up in Darien and in Chapin and Stanford. So I'm kind of a local, but I've gone elsewhere. I went to Colorado State University. I've been around. Most of my teaching has involved hosting all the leading experts on organic landscaping, native plants, organic food, green building, you name it. If it seemed environmental, I was hosting those people for the last 25 years. Part of my role was to release the 6th edition of the peer-reviewed organic land care standards from NOFA. So that means I was the guy with the group of scientists, all reviewing and deciding what goes in, what comes out, what changes on the standards for organic landscaping. They are only done by one organization for the longest period of time. There's a couple efforts to have others in Canada, at Rutgers, but NOFA's standards for organic land care are pretty much the go-to for the last 25, 30 years. So I watched organic landscapers build their businesses, do wonderful things, and I always felt that they were misrepresented when clients called, and it's also a little hard to be a great organic landscaper. You kind of got to be a little savvy, smart to be organic and great.
Yeah.
But that's organic. And I started my company as an organic company, but the mission was actually about electric.
Okay.
I did it as a demonstration. I'm an environmentalist, remember? So I call it I don't call it but it's like a project for me, okay? It's my company, I'm proud of it. My wife's proud that I started a company, that's what she wanted. But I am here to share any information I can with all of the industry. My secret sauce, how I do it. One of my early missions in life was to put myself out of business as an environmentalist. And that was something, it seems to be coming true if we keep going, because this is but one town. There's dozens that I talk with, and there are so many efforts going on. From the Hudson to here is very active right now. So you guys are right on time. Electric does work as a company. This is my 4th season. I serve properties from 0.02 acres to 20 acres.
So see 830G?
No,
No.
it's the Conservation.
Conservation Commission.
So the property size is irrelevant. I do it at every scale.
Right.
Small to large, big mowers and small mowers. All of the stuff on the truck is electric. So we're talking about blowers, trimmers, chainsaws, mowers, the pump tanks for liquids. You know how they have those tanks in them? Those are electric. So it's all electric. The only thing that's not is the truck. And that's just a matter of time. That's a matter of time. And so I, of course, came into this class a little bit as a project and also as a new business owner. I didn't have a ton of experience, but I will say that over those 3 years, I learned how the landscapers work. I learned their billing and their methods and how they spend their time and what they charge for. And I've been able to basically replace those same costs with organic. and electric. So I'm a company that's not necessarily charging more to mow your lawn. And the organic, let's just, don't worry about that. So electric is possible through blowers like this. It's a handheld blower. And one of the things
Just
that
bought one.
the landscapers do is they come out with their backpack blower and then they have a nozzle.
Mhm.
So they're wondering, how do I do it? Well, actually, I carry 2 blowers,
Oh, you do?
one in each hand.
Hmm.
And guess what? That changes a lot. Oh, it
So
changes
that
a
has
lot.
the
It
same
changes.
velocity then.
So all of their arguments about time and methods and all that stuff, well, all of a sudden, I'm talking blowers first, and there's an innovation. Carry 2, or have a backpack with 2 streams would work better,
Yes.
right? That's an innovation I've discovered. A second one is lawn sweepers. They're pulled behind the mower. It picks up sticks and nuts and everything you don't want to be raking. Why are the blowers on the lawn? They're on the lawn because they're blowing all that junk off and then they go mow.
Interesting.
Okay, I show up, I mow, and maybe I blow. Maybe a little bit of the clumps, okay? If it's spring cleanup and there's a ton of sticks from storms or any storm. In the fall, when all those nuts are happening, I'm mowing, but I'm also raking with my sweeper behind me. Imagine a bin behind me on wheels and a big brush going round and round.
Does that
So-
take care of pine cones? Like
Yeah,
massive
oh,
amount of pine cones?
Perfectly, like pine cones are great. Anything, it takes care of anything, and you can adjust it up or down. So all of a sudden, I'm electric, and I'm using 2 different methods, 2 streams of air, and this sweeper when it's hard. So I've eliminated the need for a team of 3 or 5 to go with the backpack blowers and the rolling blower. I don't have a giant rolling blower. I have these. I have 3 people in the truck, I have 6 blowers. I have 21 batteries or 18 batteries in a truck because I don't like to ever run out.
Right.
When I show up to a place, I plug in a box, like a Tupperware with 6 chargers in it, and I plug it into the customer's house. And it runs off their regular panel and it's fine. I encourage them to buy 100% electric, renewable electric service from their provider. And in general, when I come home, mine's 100% renewable electric. And there are additional ways to charge your batteries without even dealing with the grid. You could go with solar if you wanted, but also one thing that wasn't thought of, that the guys that are going to be running these big rigs with all their electric in a couple of years, because it's going to be pretty much really good. I mean, these are great machines. They're extremely strong. They go all day. They don't need maintenance that much.
Right.
They grease the wheels. I grease the wheels. There's no $300 annual service. So all of this stuff is stuff they haven't discovered, they don't know because they haven't tried it. I put my gear out in the rain, in the snow, in the cold, in the garage, all winter, 3 winters, all that stuff. I've run into holes, I've done everything I can, I've made every mistake possible, I've dropped it off the truck by accident because the ramps fell off, you know. This stuff keeps going. So I'm not having equipment failures really. I am not having problems with performance on the, like how it cuts. I'm not having disappointment with the clients. And so I'd say that it's successful to be an electric landscaping company in Fairfield County. There is absolutely no reason that a landscaper could come to me and say that there's an issue. He's just lacking a chance to do it. He would figure it all out. She would figure it all out. If they just said, oh, I'm gonna go do it. And they'll figure out how many batteries they need. They'll figure out how to charge. They'll figure out even better ideas than I have.
When you plug into a client, you're doing that to charge your spare batteries?
Yeah, these
As you
little
run
ones.
down the, yeah. Okay.
Yes, exactly. The little batteries, they fit
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
My guys took them off the truck to charge tonight, so I was looking. And, but if it's here, there's different sizes.
right, and then you go to the next client, you swap and charge it back up.
Yeah, I start with a full box of batteries and then I get to a place, I charge, $6 at a client. And they've never even blinked.
Right.
Clients are like, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Right? And they are pleased, especially with people in their offices right now, working at home.
Yeah.
I mean, people come out and also, they're like amazed. This is beyond electric, but they're like, oh my gosh, you guys use rakes. Like literally, it's pretty funny. And the way you get around that, in case people are looking at that, you want to be grouping materials. A lot of landscapers might try to blow everything across the yard.
Yeah.
So they keep blowing the same material over and over.
Right,
But grouping and tarps and rakes.
right. No, they
Yeah.
just disperse it when they blow it. They don't really.
There's
remove
different
it.
ways, and some people are, I'm thinking kind of critically when I'm doing it, like, how can I do this more efficiently?
Yeah.
How can I do this more interesting?
Yeah.
But, I figured out a way it's working. So for business wise, I think it's working well. I'm using the same business pricing that the other guys are. My clients are not balking at the prices, they're not like, oh, organic is so expensive. You've heard that? Like, no, they're like, oh, because I'm not doing these things that the chemical guys did.
Mhm.
I'll do those things instead. I'm not doing both,
Right.
right? And so I've got, graphics, a logo. It can really bring in business,
He does have a presentation that we didn't.
I could do
We could put up
presentations,
if we needed to.
and organic, if anybody wanted to know if it works, I'd say it works. Okay, on the left is like August 2020, and you can't see this, but,
Yeah.
and then it's like November 2020,
Oh, wow.
and that's like, and so I've been able to use all the tools and the things that I've learned over 20 years from the experts, all the new innovations for organic and electric. So like this one is 765 cubic feet per minute, very powerful. It actually says the industry's most powerful handheld blower. I'm assuming that's like handheld electric and gas. I don't know. Who
So
cares?
does
But
does it have a decibel on it?
it's about 65. 65, 60.
Really?
It's about there, but this is an ego. It is what it is,
Because it's.
but it's much better than where we're coming from.
Yeah,
It's drastically different. Whatever the decibels are, nobody is unhappy. Everybody is thrilled. I have zero competition.
I have two questions for you. First of all, I live near Pound Ridge, and this has been a big issue for them in the last couple of days. I think the biggest issue that I've heard is, number one, the cost of changing over.
Okay.
Acquiring all this new equipment, getting rid of the old equipment. And the second issue was, it was a very interesting breakdown, I guess is the best word to say, on the cost, environmental cost of batteries,
Mhm.
the environmental impact of batteries, just the development of batteries,
You bet.
and are we really getting anything from going to batteries? Yes, maybe we're losing the sort of surface impact, but the infrastructural impact of the batteries
Yeah,
and
good question.
the carbon footprint.
Yes.
The manufacturing
those-
and the disposal.
those
of
two issues. And
batteries.
Absolutely.
unfortunately, the institutions of change, particularly like the state, there haven't been any initiatives to help people phase in the acquisition of the new machine.
Correct.
Those
Yeah.
are my two.
Excellent. Okay, those are really great pointed questions, and maybe folks on the camera might have some questions as well. So the first question about equipment costs
Mhm.
is basically, so a new company has to buy new equipment.
Mhm.
So in general, there we can have at least a very level playing field.
Mhm.
But let's say you're a gas company right now. What I would suggest to them is to start buying equipment as it breaks.
So you're talking about a phase in.
Yeah,
Well, they can do their business however they like.
No, I understand.
Yes, but what I'm
Phase in
saying
is an
is that,
approach.
no, not on a town, not necessarily from a phase in from a town perspective.
No,
You've got very, very highly profitable landscaping companies in the area. And you have got thousands of trucks, millions of loans. So here we are in a very highly profitable region. And we've got guys talking about resistance to electric. That is not a surprise. But if you're gonna buy a new blower, a new trimmer, if you were to look at them and compare, a sensible person might say, oh, actually, that might not be bad. In fact, the trimmers alone, if they buy trimmers alone, they'll be saving themselves headaches. So much, filling gas, little tiny tanks and all that stuff. Okay, mixing, I think they might even have to mix oil. So like, all of that is relevant, that there's a cost to phase in. But these guys roll through equipment. They destroy equipment and it gets replaced every year or 3 or 5, whatever it is.
And they should be
But-
replacing their equipment, because the older the equipment, the worse the emissions and.
And so maybe we're not saying, hey, you've got to have electric chainsaws, blowers, mowers, trimmers right now. What we're saying is we want you to have electric blowers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a piece of equipment. Then
So I
the,
noticed that in the Greenwich white paper, they addressed some of these issues like you are.
Yes.
Talked about retail incentives and some kind of financial loans and setting
That's
up those
exactly
kinds of
right.
things.
so like, I do want to like say that these are profitable companies, so you don't have to like be worried like that there's just no way they could spend another dollar. There are companies that can afford to start to transition, and regardless, equipment breaks. So that's one way to look at it. Now, when I go to buy a big mower, it's twice as much. I buy one at $18,000, $20,000, they'll buy one at 10, maybe 7. So what does that mean? Just your return on investment is a different time frame. So how long does the batteries and how long does the mower last? And how long does that mower last? And all that stuff. Well, you know what? Economists can work that out. But we're in the job of being conservationists, and we're in the job of protecting people from asthma and noise pollution and excessive wasteful gas behavior and spills on your sidewalks and your streets going into your drains, into your rivers.
I understand what
No,
you're
no,
saying.
no, I'm just going on for the camera.
I get that.
But then like your point about like the buy-in is very critical. So like, I think it's affordable. I spent $500 a month for my very fancy mowers. That's like a car payment.
If you started,
That means I borrowed the money and I spent $500 on payments.
having started your company from scratch with electric, have you come across any study that compares the two
So,
from scratch?
I
That's
think
gonna be
our
the best,
light-
that's gonna be the best comparison, the most favorable. one
There is
for us.
there is
Yeah.
something in the white paper, and I will send that to you. I think I also sent it to Kimberly. Kimberly's on, Norton, who's attending
Yeah.
here, is on the bylaws and ordinance committee.
Okay,
So they're the ones that are gonna take this a step further.
But
so,
I have seen the sort of what I would consider to be the social response in the communities that are addressing this right now. Pound Ridge is the most immediate to me, but I know Wilton, Westport, other communities are doing the same thing. And it's what kind of penalty? I think phasing in is a great idea. So as you acquire new equipment, to be looking at an electric equipment is a reasonable response to a landscaper. You don't have to trash everything right now. You can go its lifetime, and then when you have to replace it, to think about something else. I also think, an initiative like solar from the state to start to think about financing options for these companies that have to do this would be a great option for us to really advocate for. So it makes sense for them to access these programs.
I would like to say that has come up. Some people have been like, well, maybe we should be, buying equipment for people. And I was like, well, okay, but no, we're not in the business of buying businesses' equipment. But there are plenty of existing models, exactly what we've done to incentivize electric cars and everything else that we've wanted to
Well,
have.
and
The
solar
exact
panels.
same models.
I think so.
So I'd like to recommend people look at those, and that'd be nice. And also, if you really wanted to be, sometimes there's giving places who really do, they donate money to do something special.
Right.
People, groups. If people were to put together a pool of money and offered very low interest loans or zero interest loans with, real, to buy the equipment, wouldn't that be great? I'm buying it, I'm financing my mean green mower. I'm gonna give you guys these two. There's a photo of my mean green. And I'm financing it through Sheffield, and Lord knows the percentage that they're charging, right? And that's prohibitive sometimes. But if I knew that, like, I could borrow money for 1% interest if I'm buying this stuff and I give them the receipts, now there is a really great hook.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot of access to credit always, and low interest financing, wow. And now this is a business, we don't need to give, but if we gave green incentives things, that'd be really great.
Do you think that would have to be at the state level?
I think it could be it could be at state level, yeah, I mean, generally, but what I'm saying is, like, let's say there's a fountain.
No, it's Conservation
Conservation.
Commission.
Oh, you're welcome to stay.
Yes.
We're talking about electric landscaping
Ah,
and the
yeah,
viability.
great idea.
So,
That's supposed to be, I'm supposed to be, I guess the ethics board isn't meeting in person tonight.
well, we could
Somebody
join,
else was looking.
we could speak to the ethics board about this too. But
I-
no, I don't
there
mean to be
was
sassy,
somebody
but I
else
want to get
looking
to
for
her
it,
most
so it
important
might work
questions. I want to make sure that I
Right.
finish answering for you.
Okay.
But you kind of saying, like, how could we do it? Yeah, state consult. But you also asked me about the environmental thing,
Well, I just know that
and that's
in
okay.
reviewing some of the presentations that were prepared for this Pound Ridge initiative, there was one gentleman who put up very,
I've seen garbage. I've seen a lot of garbage.
well, I'm not sure it's garbage, but I'm not sure it's not, talking about the environmental cost of these batteries.
Absolutely. And there's an environmental cost to the oil.
I know.
And guess what? For every one of those studies, there's like 57 others.
Okay.
And there's a lot of fake efforts out there. And it's also driven by lobbyists. If you don't think that there's not
Oh, no,
major
I
money
totally
involved.
understand.
So I've seen garbage information. I've heard stuff off the cuff. People don't know what they're talking about. They have to do it. And the only
It's the
thing to
same
do
thing with
is the
elec-
market. The
It's-
market is
yeah.
what America's built on. And so when
That's
we
right, the
demand it,
consumer
they
initiative.
change and it's fine. And guess what? I would never have started an organic landscaping company. I started an electric one to see if it worked. I'm on year 4. My first 2 years, I was well over $250,000 in revenue. I'm well above that now. This is not unprofitable, but I'm not here to sell organic. I'm here to tell you that this horrible noise and the asthma causing and the dust and the stupidity and the lack of training is upsetting everybody. And I've watched dozens of progressive towns put in effective bans. And I would like to see Greenwich come next. I'd like to see New Canaan and Pound Ridge. And the companies have been coming to the table with complaints and very thin information. And they don't even know what it's like. And they don't need to be given a lot of leeway. The towns that have made mistakes are Rye, and we'll just leave it there. What did they do? They banned blowers all year, even electric.
Oh, wow.
The stupidest thing. People call me from Rye all the time. I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm not gonna work there.
So they only have people raking?
And I don't even know how they deal with it. It's just unbelievable. I think they can use like blowers in the spring, but then there's a time you can't. So Rye is just mistaken, but it's very simple. If you were to put in a ban that was for a year or two, there's some raisins and saying, in summer, you can't use the gas. That is, I'd love to just have it go bam, but listen, what this is doing, when you do that, it's very important to know that that will encourage them for those 2 to 3 months to put one blower on the truck, 2 blowers, and they will start to become electric guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll see it. So I would recommend any town does not go lightly, just goes heavy and just says, you know what, we don't want those. You got 1 year of a summer, you can use, you know, I don't even know. I mean, you guys can look at the regs and I think there's a lot of great models and they're not on the top of my mind at this time of the day after sitting in the sun. But I will say that there's plenty of good efforts out there that are past and going. And so I don't really need to be more enthusiastic. I'm just not. I'm
No,
winded.
that's great. No, that's why I wanted you here, because obviously, you know, I'm passionate about it as well. The state of California is a perfect model. I mean, but they
Yeah.
started years ago doing this. If they hadn't started years ago, the impact of the forest fires would make that state totally unlivable.
Well, I will say that I had somebody that came here, just moved here from California, and they were like, they couldn't believe what was going on
Right,
with blowers, and they called me and they're like, please help me,
right.
you know, and it's interesting
They have a,
that we're
they had,
behind and we need to catch up as a town.
and so New York State is looking at it now. I know, you know, looking at some kind of a phase plan.
That's great. That's a big win for climate.
Yes, absolutely,
Huge win.
absolutely.
It'll meet most of
So
your
we do
questions.
have models out there. I think that the Conservation Commission, which is what we agreed, was kind of taking baby steps. I mean, we vacillated between being a little aspirational and, you know, realistic as to what could be accepted. But I really would like to see some kind of long-term planning.
Yeah.
And eventually, we're all going to be there. Like, eventually, we know that, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm talking from dreams or something. but-
No, it's not
but
dreams.
It's like, you know, there are more and more EVs on the road. And there's, you know, there's slowly but surely, there's more consciousness of raising of the environmental impact of, and how we're
Yeah.
polluting. our
Well, I
air.
absolutely, guys.
Conservation wants
and I-
clean, Conservation Commission wants clean air and clean water.
Yeah, we do. And believe me, those little drips from the gas tanks of those is not to be underestimated. You've seen what 1 drop in a puddle looks like.
Yeah.
Right, and it's horrible at gas stations already. I can't believe they don't have an isolated moat around gas stations.
Right.
That's 2 related questions, if I might. Do you know if the manufacturers of these equipment have put out things with regard to, you know, electric versus gas?
Yeah, they've studied pretty well. Eagle, I think, is pretty good. They have some good info.
Yeah. I
And-
mean,
But I try to look
I
at
don't
the
know that I would
universe.
trust that.
I
That's
try-
just a guy,
Yeah,
but it'd be good
whenever
data
you go
point.
into a manufacturer's
Yeah.
website, look at their data, you have to think, "Oh, okay,
I try to look at university studies,
yeah,
things like that. It's really, you know, good. And you don't have to be I mean, you can measure it all. You just know it. It's better. And it's not a bad tool. It's great. And most of the guys that are landscaping are probably concerned that it's a bad tool. Because I grew up mowing with an electric mower in the 70s and the 80s. I was, you know, with the cord, right? Out there as a little kid. So like, they remember those lame experiences. They think they're gonna be carrying a cord around probably.
yeah,
They
they
don't-
do.
And they're used to
Where
their
can I plug it
terrible Ryobi battery,
Right.
like drill, horrible experiences when the battery goes gone in like a year and you're like, what happened?
So that, you know, was obviously complaints that the electric equipment just wasn't performing as well as the gas. And
I don't know about that.
but, you know, those complaints, but then on the other hand, I do read that every day the electric equipment gets better. They
Oh, yeah.
refine it, they improve it, because they know that
It's been getting better.
that's their
This is like the
profit.
4th version in only 3 years of improvements on speed.
So can I ask you for a couple of rules of thumb? You said the equipment is maybe twice as expensive.
Well, on a
Right.
giant mower,
On a
but,
giant mower.
but not on the blowers and trimmers.
No.
No.
So
I
if you-
can-
on the high end, it's twice as
For
expensive.
$300, I can walk out of the store with
Yeah.
a blower, trimmer, battery,
Okay.
and a charger. But I need more than one battery.
Right.
But for $300, you get a trimmer and a battery.
And what would that be for?
Or-
So then you
for
have,
internal
then you
combustion?
have then you have two batteries,
Oh,
charging.
You need-
this-
But then what's the related cost for internal combustion?
So I haven't actually shopped for the
Right,
gas
that's
thing,
fair enough.
but I'm sure they're around at least that.
Okay.
I mean, imagine it, three,
Okay, I-
five.
okay, all right.
and I
So
think
rule of
you-
thumb is parity to
Yeah.
at the high end twice as.
Yeah,
much.
and
And
now
with the
then
little
next
extra
question.
that you pay,
Right.
you have to factor in the cost
Just
of
trying to get some
gasoline right
data.
now.
Yeah, well, that's
So-
where I'm going. Then from a labor perspective.
Yeah,
Does it take you any longer or less time? in
I've been
terms of
looking
the
at
Number
that.
of hours?
So from the work on the ground or from the?
No,
So
from the,
use.
you're paying your guys. for
So
gas.
like, imagine you send a truck of guys to the gas station to fill up 10 tanks of gas.
Yeah, you
Or
gotta
5
include
tanks of
that.
gas. There is a lot of time going on there. And then they're running out on the job. In my case, I don't go to the gas station. I'm at the garage or I'm at the client and I'm back at the garage. So I don't go to the gas
So,
station for
so the
that.
trip to,
So that's a
the
very.
return to the gas stations is the savings, but what about the on the
But then
field?
on the
time?
field, I'd say, let's just call it even.
Okay,
Because, you know, you're
That's
running
what I
out
thought
of
you'd say.
gas and you're
Yeah.
running out of batteries
Yeah.
and I'm charging
yeah,
and I'm refilling a tank with gas. So I've been trying to, I'm thinking it's like even.
yeah, that
Like
makes
there's
sense.
really no difference.
That's
But I
right.
am totally winning on not going to the gas station.
Right,
All of a sudden, that could cost you
Right.
$200 instead.
clearly. And then with regard to the power, you're not spending really much on you're getting some of the power from your clients. I don't know, you're getting
Yes,
some
that's
from
so
yourself as well.
true, right?
And you're also,
That's so
right.
true, that's right. I'm getting some from the clients, and then I'm charging at home, and the penny for penny and the gas per moment and all that stuff, I haven't figured it out.
Hard to say, yeah.
It's hard to say, but I will say that there's no reason why we shouldn't tell them that they should stop polluting our air and our noise and our sound environment, because it's so bad, it's so,
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to.
yeah,
So,
so.
you
those
know, for
arguments, yeah.
EVs, you know, they have all the analysis of what it, you know, costs to charge from your home. And,
Yeah.
and,
And these guys got it too, and everybody's got it figured out in their books.
yeah, but it isn't, and I have to say, you know, we purchased an EV and I haven't seen my electric bill, you know, skyrocket, if at all. You know, so I don't know, I mean, I can't tell how much is pulling. And then again, is how much you're using and how much you're charging, but I haven't, you know.
It's not
huge.
free, right?
No.
But I will remind you that, like, I heard that the guys have to pay for a $300 tune-up every year on their mower.
That's a fair point. And then,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
And is
And
there
maybe
any
it's
rule of
some-
thumb with regard to how long that equipment might last versus?
Well, I had the same blowers I started with.
Right.
Which is 4 years.
This is the 4th season.
Okay, so 4+ compared to what would be the average life of a gas car, you don't know.
Probably a while, probably 5 or 6 years.
Right.
Probably goes.
Right.
But, yeah, but you're putting in that maintenance
Yes, no,
and blowers, I mean, when they break
Right.
and mowers and all that stuff, when they break, they gotta go in. How much is a service call? Yeah.
and you're fine if the reliability of electric motors.
I think it's pretty reliable, yeah. I haven't been let down. I haven't been let down from a business point of view. Only time it's a problem is if I go home and I don't plug it in and I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't plug in the mower. And then it's kind of like shocking, but.
How long does it take?
But I'm
for that?
imagining a world where very near soon,
Yeah,
if it's not me initiating it, somebody, I'm gonna be trying to make sure that the Tesla chargers have an adapter for our
oh,
mowers.
perfect. I was wondering about
You
that.
know, I just don't have enough time to work through all of
They
this,
should.
but,
It would
but
be-
yeah, so like,
Yeah.
imagine you got like an hour charge instead of like an 8-hour.
right.
And that's a
right.
universal standard, right?
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
so like Nolan, you
Well,
guys,
the
in the
Tesla
US,
is
Tesla's,
No,
Tesla
no,
is
it's not universal,
unique
they're
in the
own.
US.
It's everyone except.
But in Europe,
Yeah.
Tesla has a universal adapter in Europe, and they're trying to get it here. You can get one in Europe and bring it here
For
Tesla.
these?
Not
These-
for these, but for
Well,
our.
they come with some adapters to go to, so you can use the slow ones. on
Well, they
the
have
road.
different standards.
Yeah, the
Like the
super fast
all-night
charger.
charger and the 2-hour charger, and then the chargers that are on the highways that are like 40
So
minutes.
I imagine in 3 to 4 years, it's gonna be
Everything is.
really
Right,
complex
right,
and
right,
awesome, like
right.
the charging time will be less,
Right.
the this and that. Now,
And
the
these
batteries is,
machines are going to continue to improve. I just,
Yes.
you know, we're on the cusp of a lot of
I think
change.
so, but also as a conservation commission, I think we should put something in the world of lithium batteries. Like, we have so much lithium and batteries in like little toys and all that stuff that are totally polluting landfills and stuff like
Totally.
that. But also, you know, you guys should always be prepared to accept big, you know, batteries when they do go back, you know, you don't want them
Yeah,
getting trashed, and there must be a way to recycle some of it,
Right.
etc. And
right.
so like, as long as we're prepared for the, let's call it battery waste and whatever, it's gonna be similar to all of the tragedies that happen with petroleum.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
it seems to me like the strategy here is really to try to implement a phasing in of electrical equipment, lawn care equipment, with the goal of reducing
Right.
the various different
Yeah.
negatives. I think a ban is a very costly option. It's not just costly from a financial standpoint. I think it's costly from a public relations standpoint. I think we'll kill the initiative ban.
I don't think
Well,
so.
that's not what we recommend.
Not what I'm seeing in all
We're
the
not
other towns.
recommending a ban. So.
I'm
we did
seeing in
recommend
the
a
towns that have been trying to initiate this, I've looked at Westport, Wilton, Easton, Weston, and every time they go ban, they go dead.
Those are people that haven't succeeded.
Yeah, that's why I was
Fine,
careful
but
to
I'm
use
thinking,
the
to
limit.
your point,
If
if
we
you-
want to reduce.
We'd like to.
if you haven't succeeded, that's a problem. And I think that's why going at this with the idea that we would like to phase out this equipment, I think going to try to the state to try to get an financing and incentive. So if you're going to turn your equipment around and you're buying electric equipment, that you can come in for maybe a tax break or something. They do this again all over the place for other things.
Of course, the businesses could lobby for that themselves.
Yes, they could, and I think to support that as a municipality would be a great
Yeah,
objective.
I
And
think so.
going through our state legislators, I don't think it's that hard. Because I think there are a lot of communities that are trying to do this. I've also looked at New Haven, they've been
Mhm.
battling this for 5 years.
Right.
And I think
Statewide effort would really help.
statewide effort.
So I think Lamont did say that it should be handled on a community basis. I think that's the last statement.
That's one opinion.
But then he also, he's establishing some kind of, reduction in emissions over a certain period of time.
Right, and this is a way to do
And
that.
this is a way to do that. So I'm going to speak to the governor.
I would like that. I would like that.
Charge task to the governor. But I think that that's a
But-
great start, so these,
So honestly, that is what we recommended when we passed our.
I also think
proposal.
the various different operatives, the businesses, to feel like they're getting a lot of support for this on the public side would go a long way to suppressing the opposition.
Yeah,
That we understand there's an economic cost to this, but there's a huge plus to incentivizing you to do this. As you
Yeah.
need to replace your equipment, please, electric.
imagine the resistance to, you know, all the early emissions efforts and
Yes.
all the other things. that-
Yes.
And I, you know, I will say, the industry has asked for it because they've done nothing to help. They've kept 2-stroke engines out there, the dirtiest they can get, as cheap
Because
as they can get.
it's what they
And-
have.
And everybody who makes those dirty things is now making electric.
Yes,
Everybody, still, Husqvarna, you name it, they're making electric now. So this is just like, honestly,
so I think it's
early in the game.
incentivizing this transition is really the place for us to go.
Coming from the King, I think it would settle well in the capital. I mean, I have had a lot of years trying to pass legislation and a lot of success. And so I know what it can be like to try to get a bill through with bonding and all that stuff. And so, you know, I've been in there doing testimony, I've been in all the meetings with interesting people across the state and seen how challenging it can be, but I've seen win after win after win
Yes.
of all sorts of interesting things. And Connecticut is kind of following suit with the progressiveness of California. They're kind of often, we're right behind them, ahead of a lot of other states. Yes, in environmental matters in the last 25 years. I've seen a lot of things from California mimicked here. And I'm impressed, and I think that there's a lot of great ways that we could influence the state. In the meantime, if you don't like the gas blowers, you don't have to go that light. I think a summer, electric only, that's all you gotta do.
That's what I was
Boom.
about to say.
It's-
What's the
it's called
practical
a ban.
local?
It's actually
approach?
called a ban. It's called a summer ban on gas blowers.
Right.
So don't be afraid of a ban. And yeah, it's technically phasing in because
Right.
summer ban on gas blowers for 2 years or something like that. And then after that,
Expanded.
all
It's
year.
Expanded a couple of weeks each year.
Right.
And that's more than enough time for these guys to get their feet wet.
Right.
The second that they.
You certainly don't want to ban electric, ban blowers, period.
No.
You don't wanna
Because
ban
that doesn't
blowers.
encourage anyone to buy them.
No.
You wanna see resistance, ban all blowers.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Give them the
think-
electric, they'll be
Yeah.
fine.
It gives you no incentive to go.
A
So
lot
our
of the,
proposal
a lot of the
is-
opposition that I read from various different communities who've been trying to do this for years
Hmm.
has not just been the industry, but it's been homeowners who own this equipment, who've been using this equipment,
Yes.
and they don't want to be forced out of their equipment by
Right.
somebody else telling them what they can and cannot do.
Well, there's an interesting thing. That's an interesting thing. Private property, I don't even want to go down that road. That is. You know what? If your grandchild had asthma, you'd have very little leeway for their argument.
Well, I understand that.
So
but
like,
it-
that, it's almost like I understand, and I'm a public-private type of, I respect privacy. But, yeah, that's not privacy. There,
Well, that's where
Well,
we
you know
have to
what?
raise the awareness.
Yes, but the other thing is
And-
that I would come back to the argument, and I don't want to digress and probably should wind this
Yes,
up.
we should.
It's the same people who basically tell you, I'm not getting vaccinated.
maybe, I don't know, but
I'm not worried about you.
Hmm.
And I'm just worried that I don't want to get stonewalled in an argument that we can manipulate around a little bit. We can kind of ease into this and grow an advocacy group.
yeah, I think the other towns that passed the summer gas ban have had great responses so far.
And maybe that's a way to go, to sort of start this initiative.
Yeah.
And to your point, since you're replacing these machines on a fairly regular basis, you can turn over your equipment to a new technology.
Offer incentives.
Yes, I
Those
think the
tax
incentives would be
incentives and-
amazing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I would have loved to have incentives. I mean, it would have made such sense.
Right, right.
I mean,
That would-
gosh, but you know, even without it, I
Right.
made it.
Right,
Maybe I was lucky, but no, I mean, I came from a nonprofit career. I didn't like come into it with hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. I mean, I was just like a guy in a truck.
right.
So I made it, you know, and I did that because I could get a mower loan. I can get a loan for those.
Right.
Right, right.
So I think to look at these two aspects, to try to have an incentive and also a gradual acceptance of this equipment will give us a much better chance as we get into this political arena.
One last little thing to help with the landscapers. Remind them that this will really change their competition. Everything will change. The second they are electric, they will have no problem finding business.
Right.
They will be, if they wanted a giant company, they could have it instantly. They could have their little company or giant, so
Because you
like,
see the demand personalized first.
it's ridiculous. I've got like 40 voicemails I'm not returning.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah, I
got
was lucky. to
so
get
many
his
clients.
attention.
Yeah, no, I've got so many clients. I mean, a guy and a crew can't handle. So I've got to have 2 crews now, which I have,
Hmm.
and 2 vehicles. And like, this is with no effort marketing,
Right.
0 effort
The
marketing.
demand is there.
I am an environmentalist and people heard about, me doing it and they call me, Jeff, you're doing that, that's great, oh, come on, check out my place. But if I just, I didn't put out a single lawn sign to advertise.
Right.
Right, so like, if I did that, if I was any company and said, now offering electric mowing, quiet, clean, have a good day. They would get rings like unbelievable. So I will say, don't forget to like lure them with that.
Yeah.
And in closing, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It's been very
Really
helpful.
appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and I'm sorry for my enthusiasm.
I was just
So
about to
Kim-
say, I love your enthusiasm. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
So Kimberly, do you have any questions for Jeff?
Oh, she
She's on
doesn't,
mute.
she doesn't
She's on
dare,
mute.
she's like, oh no, I don't want
There
this
she
to
goes.
go on any
Oh.
longer.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for presenting. I just wanted to say thank you for coming, and I learned a lot, and I look forward to learning more about this issue. So I just think it was really interesting, and I'm glad to hear you have so many clients. Maybe I have one question. What is your, like, I don't know if you can sum up what your typical client is, but what are the reasons people are telling you that they're hiring you?
They're calling me for the noise, they're calling me for, mostly they call me for organic.
Mhm.
And then, because that's been a big demand for like about 15 years.
Yeah.
But, and there's only so many companies that do it and do it well,
Yes.
and so like, they're calling me for organic and I'm hooking them with electric.
Right.
Like, I got a 20-acre lawn because they called me about crabgrass. I was like, oh, by the way, I can fix your crabgrass, but what about the lawn mowing? Did you know your lawn is like 4,000 car miles of pollution a week for the lawn?
With a 2-stroke, yeah.
No, for these, yeah,
For
for
the
these
mowers,
mowers.
yeah.
A week. And they just fell over. They were like, what? And they hired me.
I mean, the comparisons are
So,
atrocious.
so like any landscaper will have a great experience. Even if these things broke, they would
Right.
still have a great experience and they don't seem to. Thank you. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
very
Fantastic.
much.
We'll let you,
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I
I'll be-
appreciate
I'll
your
be in touch
efforts
with
and-
you for
and
maybe some additional consulting.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
thank
all
you.
right, terrific, thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much, thank you.
Be well, folks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Tiger, are you still there? He's muted.
Well, I
Yeah, I'm
can.
here.
I
Oh, you're
can-
here?
I'm
okay.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we could move you immediately now into the next part of this, which seems to be the recycling center or the transfer station. And then the Gristo improvements update.
Sure. So, going off of your agenda, you want to do the food scrap recycling first?
Any of those, you pick the order and we'll do the native tree planting after.
Okay, on the food scrap side, we were reporting about 750 pounds a week. We're at about a little over 1,000 pounds a week right now. It kind of fluctuates a little bit, but for the past month or so, we're hoping to get to 1,500. We get to 1,500, and that's kind of our go-to number. So we just need to see if we can't try to increase usership, I guess would be it, and see how we can maybe increase a little bit more visibility on it and have people come. It's usually the same people, no really new names or faces coming in to do it, but 1,000 pounds a week is still a very good number for us. As far as a swap shop, we have a little bit of work to do inside, excuse me, the building, resetting the roof, the ceiling, making it safe electrically, since we're taking out some of the aspects that were in that. It was an office originally. And then we'll hand it over to Planet New Canaan, and they'll come in and want to paint it. And then we have something to put up. We'll have to put up something, take care of it. And at that point, we'll look to open. I've got a couple of metal bins that I've got to get rid of.
You're cutting in and out a little bit tighter.
What?
You're just
Yeah,
cutting
you're
in and
cutting
out.
in and
Your
out.
voice.
Sorry, I'm doing my best.
Do you have a target date for having this operative, or is it still in flux?
No, I told him that I wanted to be end of May, middle of June. So, and I think that's still, a good target, for that. And then, as far as, on June 4th, we've got
You gotta say that again on June
Yeah,
4th,
we're
what?
cutting out
June
again.
4th, June 4th coming up at the transfer station. That'll be posted on the town calendar, and we'll tweet that out. And then we'll put out our message sign a week in advance so people know that's our first of two. We usually have 2 a year, one in June and one in September. So that pretty much takes care of the transfer station. So if you want me to transition to Bristow, you want me to talk Bristow, or you have any questions on the transfer station?
Well, I have a report from Robin that she wanted me to discuss here. So there was something about the transfer station. There's been some complaints that the bins are filled. Now, this is for food scraps. And the
Yeah, we
can't put out all the bins due to space, as they are charged per bin. So is that-
right. She mentioned that to me a couple of weeks ago, and we've had our guys paying attention. We can't put out. We have more than enough bins. We just can't put them all out in the space that we have. So
Okay.
as they come forward, and as we have the guys checking them every day, and sometimes middle of the day somebody will open up and they'll be full. We just ask the people to tell us, and we'll bring out another one and be able to get rid of their stuff. I think those complaints are few and far between. But we just don't have enough space to put every single toter that we have out.
All right.
The fact we have to pay for if the food recycling goes into each bin, we pay for each bin, even if it's not full. So we're trying to, make sure that they're full, so we don't have to pay for dumping each bin every week.
I see. So, okay. She had, well, this maybe has something to do with your part. She had a question about tree planting.
Yeah.
John has a,
I have, okay, yeah.
Okay, but it's about donating trees. Is
Yeah.
there a program for donating? Are you going to
Well,
discuss that? Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we'll get to that later.
it's really a question for Tiger, but.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that I need
She
to
brought it.
pose to you.
Oh, okay. So she was posting
Yeah.
it.
We accept trees all the time. We've actually got we have a group right now trying to donate a number of trees to us, the Church of Latter-day Saints. We're just trying to find locations, but normally they'll come in ones and twos for dedications for people, and then we try to find a location. They'll come in with an idea, and then we try find a location for them, a suitable location, and then our highway department takes care of it, and then we'll take care of the watering until it's established. So we do several every year, quite a few every year, and then service organizations a lot with that. The Beautification League, Garden Club, the Exchange Club, they'll donate trees. The Exchange Club did all the trees out in front of Bristow last year. All we ask is just to reach out, and we'll have our tree warden take a look and find a location.
So are you the right person for that, or is the tree warden the right person?
The tree warden's part-time, so it's easier just to come to me, and I'll coordinate with the tree warden, since I'm here full-time, so
And
try to help him.
as this topic comes up, do you do people have ideas of where they want to plant these trees? I mean, I want to touch base on this, Dan Robertson from the Latter-day Saints, because as you, it sounds like you know, they want to try and donate 20 trees, and they're looking for, they want to work with the town in any way they can. You know, they don't want to misstep at all, down to ordering the right trees, and
Right.
they're way ahead of their, from a timing perspective, they're trying to be really proactive, so they want to order now, so they have the right trees in the fall
Sure.
to be able to plant. So they're looking for some guidance there, which I assume you guys can help with. I think they have some ideas, but then with regard to locations, how does that dynamic tend to work?
The majority of the time, like, not in the case of the Latter-day Saints, because they have so many and they don't really have an idea. You have an idea along the driveway at Saks. Going into Saks, we had a number of trees along the driveway off of South Avenue that fields that we've lost, and we actually lost a lot of trees along South Avenue in that area, larger trees. So we're talking to them now. We're thinking that that might be a nice area. We're looking at a couple of the other schools. We're thinking that, you know, some of our large parks are starting to get a little full. As far as, you know, we want to try to still maintain enough open space area for everyone. Normally, when someone comes in with a donation, they have an idea. They'll come in and say, my mom, my dad, my husband, my wife, they really liked this park. They loved this location, you know, and I would like to put a tree here. And 95 times out of 100, we say yes. And we find a location exactly where they want it. And we get it. Normally, we're not moving them around. They kind of have an idea. So usually the ones and the twos always have an idea where they want it. And usually we can accommodate.
And
But
to the extent that we can generate more inquiry along the lines of, you know, I want to do 20 trees or 30 trees, as these guys do. I'm guessing that, like, replacing something that has come down in a storm or simply died is an easier site to identify, an easier site to just say, yeah, that makes sense because we already had a tree there. Is that a fair assumption or not really?
no, it is. You know, we're looking at, most of the time, we're looking at areas where we know our trees are the trees that we have are older, right? Like, say, along the Waveney Drive, we started doing all the ones along the Waveney Drive because everything there is old. So now we're trying to replace that entire grove, that entire line of trees there. You know, as far as alongside the roadway, our canopy alongside all of our roads is quite extensive. You know, so when we lose a tree due to a storm in that area, most of the time we're not replacing them. They're set in front of a household that someone is looking for, then we try to work with that homeowner and plant in that area. But overall, a lot of the trees that we have are weren't planted, you know, they came up naturally. And so like I said, if you go to look along our roadside, we're probably incredibly well developed tree wise along, you know, each one of our roads. And the parks themselves are starting to, you know, depending upon how you want the park to look, you know, you start to lose locations as well. You know, a lot of people like, you know, they like the large Waveney lawn. You know, we lost some larger trees out there. Makes it hard to, you know, replant in there since everyone wants to see an open meadow, so to speak. But we usually tend to work with everyone on what they're where they want to plant and what they want to plant.
Okay. Okay, great. No, that's very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Not sure. Tiger, do you have anything on the status of the Gristo projects in process?
Sure. Yes. So I spoke to the contractor today and the designer. The contractor right now, they're putting in some of the longer boardwalk is going in now. Once they're done with that, already laid out the lookout area, and he's laid out a portion of the large pavilion is going to go. So I got to get the designer out there to take a look and make sure he's comfortable with what's been laid out, and he feels like he's got about a week or 2 weeks left of work and phase 2 will be completed. And then subsequent to that, the designer feels he's got about a week or two left of work to do before the phase 3 design is complete and we can put it out to bid. And with that thought is, if he's done within a couple of weeks, that's say June, mid-June, we put it out to bid, we get into July, mid-July, and we're thinking about somewhere starting around August for phase 3. The pavilion itself has been ordered. We put down a down payment, we put down the deposit we needed to, and we're in queue, but the queue is somewhere. So the pavilion itself won't be coming in until that time. We'll have the patio done, the footings will be all prepared, everything will be done. We'll just be waiting for the pavilion to arrive, and then we'll erect it at that time. So Bristol's going quite well. We had we had a brush fire in there, campfire got out of control, and then today I got reports of some graffiti. One of the signs, written upon with some not nice language, and one of the steps, the stone steps, was damaged. Same thing with some writing. The contract, my crews are going to go out there tomorrow and take care of the sign. The contractor's going to go out tomorrow and try to take care of the stonework. But it's just it's unfortunate. We're seeing more and more graffiti in and around town of late. I hadn't had problems with graffiti in a number of years, and this year seems to be off the charts as far as it goes. So
Is it just in Bristow, Tiger?
no, I have a tagger that comes into the train station, primarily Talmadge Hill, once every 2 weeks or so. And we had a couple of kids tagging dumpsters in the downtown area, our compactor in the downtown area. So
We do have a bird walk in Bristol on Sunday.
we're gonna make sure that,
Too much graffiti.
Yeah.
Just birds for the people walking.
make sure that you don't notice it. Let's put it that way.
Lots to see, including birds.
Mhm. But Bristow, I think, is going along nicely. I did talk to the fire marshal about the oil spill, and the final report came out just the other day. He's reviewing it, and then he's going to provide copies to Chris and myself. He did a final walkthrough with Kathy Holland, our wetlands director, and they were satisfied with Bristow. And then when they had the fire, the brush fire in Bristow, he went through again, and he could see no adverse effects in Bristow from that spill. That's a good thing. But the report, like you said, the report, we'll get you a copy of the report. Hopefully within the next couple of days, you'll have it.
Okay. That's all good. Did you want to talk
Yep.
about the trail cams, or should we
Yeah,
wait?
we could do it real quickly. I mean, to the point of the brush fire, it just sparked a thought that I had, which is, do we want to consider some trail cams in Bristow as a simple deterrent to, ne'er-do-wells? And we might even gain some interesting information from this about usage. It could be helpful. I don't know how scientific it would be, but, we would get, to the extent we wanted to download those, there'd be some data there. And I'm sure there are considerations with regard to putting cameras in that location. I mean, I know that the Land Trust has done this in the past, but that's a different,
Yeah, the
different-
nature center
different
did
one.
some before, mostly to capture natural events.
Right, and I'd love to capture a bear in there or
And
something
it
like
was,
that.
well,
So-
and then, we would post them on our website, and so if, we have the Bristow, I'm sure there's interesting behavior in there, wildlife.
Maybe
behavior.
you can speak to this then from your experience. There's obviously a cost to installing them, but is there a cost to maintaining them and actually monitoring them?
Well, there's labor in jail, you have to,
Yeah, it would be,
Yeah,
I would take
They're
that
not-
you just
you
need
can
to go
get-
and collect it.
yeah, you have to
Oh,
collect
okay.
them, and,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not really very expensive.
No, they're not.
So, but you do have to.
But
manage.
I'm asking the question, does everyone think this is a good idea? I mean, is it more of a target for, someone who
To
is
tear one of these
like,
taggers to.
like,
take
exactly,
it
my thought
down.
is, okay, kids fooling around lighting a fire, that would deter a 14-year-old or a 13-year-old or something like that. I don't know,
I don't know if it would deter them, but we should be sure that they are camouflaged. I don't know if it would deter them or they would try to tear them down.
I
don't
think
know.
if we put it out there that these were
I think it's
for
worth a try.
gathering information.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
Right.
Yeah.
targeting,
Right.
Oh, that's a good idea.
that we
How many
would like to
turkeys have we
see
seen? Yeah.
the animals that come and the birds that come,
Well,
et
yeah,
cetera.
we're tracking the wildlife
That's a good-
because
brilliant
it's a wildlife sanctuary.
That's a brilliant
Right.
idea.
That's what I think. If it was actually for that purpose, then I don't think there'd be such opposition.
Yeah,
We're not babysitting your teenagers.
yeah.
Let's talk about that.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a better approach.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Tiger, are you done?
Yeah, unless you had anything else, the brush fire itself was just was kids having a campfire and it got out of control. I don't think they went in there to, we had problems with arson in the past, about 20 years ago, but I don't think it was a case of arson. I think it was just kids coming in there,
I wasn't suggesting that, but they're not supposed to be making a campfire in Bristow. So if they thought that they were gonna be on camera, they'd be less inclined to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we don't have any signs about that.
No, the other thing is if you all
We
also
should.
captured it on camera, you can figure out what you want to do with that information. You don't have to do anything. You could identify the individuals and contact them personally. You don't have to put it out there. As you know.
Correct. Yeah.
These are our little arsonists out in Bristol. I don't think they have.
I agree.
All right. Well, this is all good.
Mhm.
You have that.
Yes,
I think we're
I'm
going to table
representing,
5 and
Robin.
6 because only Chris really was.
Perfect.
So I am referring to a report that Robin sent today, since she couldn't be here and she's discussing the silver certification. She needs another equity action for silver certification. Tiger's transfer station action should qualify for 1 equity action. The PNC completed a Sustainable Connecticut matching grant for food scrap stations. This will count towards points for Sustainable Connecticut. The fundraiser and grant paid for the food scrap station signage and food scrap collection at Mayfair. The New Canaan Land Trust will use some for an upcoming event, some of the food scrap stations that were used at Mayfair.
Amen.
The Conservation Commission Green Link maps will go towards Sustainable Connecticut points. Beth Sanford is working with New Renew to adapt the map online. The maps are currently available at the Nature Center, Historical Society, and Walter Stewart's.
And the why.
Oh, they're at the Y?
Yes, I
Okay.
took them to the
Oh,
Y.
you took them to the Y.
I
Okay.
did.
All right, good for you.
They like to do walking trips with their kids, and so I thought that was good.
Oh, yeah, great, okay. So that's all she has.
Okay, and you'll send that to me?
I'll send it to you.
Okay, so I can put it in the minutes.
Yes.
I think that's it, people,
Okay.
unless there's something else we didn't talk about. This is good.
Well, I would like to encourage everyone to go to the bird walk.
Oh, yeah, when is the bird walk, Sunday?
It's Sunday at 10. I've spent the last couple of days trying to get more promotion for it because they have no one registered for it.
So how do you register?
Well, I can send you a link to register, but now it should be on Instagram, Planet New Canaan. It should be in the New Canaanite. And I'm not sure where else, PNC Social. So it should be somewhere. that you can register, but if you can't find it, then I'll send you a link.
Those are such, I don't do Instagram. I never even knew about P and Z Social. And Planet New Canaan is not a
And,
site.
and it should be on the land trust somewhere, because Beth was doing this for me, but
Okay.
I couldn't find it today. It may not go up until tomorrow.
Okay, I'll check
Can
it.
you somehow tag along with the birds aren't real, an antidote to the birds aren't real, movement? Have you seen this?
Oh, no.
You should track down because I bet someone will bring it up, but there's a spoof birds aren't real movement, which is really taken off to the point where 60 Minutes did a piece on it
Really?
within the last week or so. You'd be very, very interested.
So
I surely will look that up.
I'll look it up, yes, I'm intrigued.
That would be fun.
Okay, great. Well, I move to adjourn.
All righty.
One second.
Okay, we're done.
12 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be on the, it'll be.
Yeah,
on the-
okay. So I see that Tom Butterworth logged in. for
He
a
jumped
minute,
in.
Yeah.
But he missed the presentation. So next Thursday at 7. And I will give the presentation that we have, that I gave. And we do have, and I hope that you look at our recommendation, because our recommendation, look at that again, and we did buy into it, and it discusses, it says exactly what you brought up, that we should have a phased plan. And then I did add later to the presentation, the response to legislation resistance, and talking and social justice. Two more slides there. So I will send out the presentation to you guys again so you can review it. Plus the white paper from Greenwich.
That'd be interesting to read.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's the most thorough research that you can probably.
I'm just seeing that, I'm sort of monitoring how these communities are moving forward, and it's really hard. People do not like being told
Yeah,
what they
but there's
cannot do.
But Westchester, and they've had lots of success. There's like they've got a lot of different things going on there.
I think the idea of getting something rolling and then expanding.
That's what I did.
Well, that's what, we said.
Right.
Yeah, and so our recommendation was very light, really. But the thing that's more concerning maybe is the no gas on electric or gas on Sundays, but I don't think that happens anyway.
Well, those are usually private individuals who are doing their own yard work.
But they can do it on Saturday. We allow it on Saturday.
Yeah, but I think if it were me,
Well,
and you told me you can't do this on Sunday, and I had, I don't know, a business where I worked on Saturday or something, I would be a little pissed off.
I don't know. All we are doing is recommending. The
No, I
the
understand.
ordinance committee
But
is
that's
going
why
to
I
be
think-
taking all of this under.
I understand, but
And-
that's why I think to have our our sort of public face on this is that we're acknowledging that we're trying to do a change that needs to accommodate all of these various conflicts. And it's not our intention to go head to head with these people, but rather to encourage a transition into a more environmental.
Well, that's a very nice way to say it, but on the other hand,
I understand.
you have to keep hammering it in.
I know, but I think
You know,
that's,
um,
my fear is that's.
And our proposal, our recommendation is light. It's very light. So it's electric all year and banning, not banning, but limiting the use to, certain months, allowing GLBs for certain months, where there's a lot of leaf litter. So it's not really, it's not really a drastic change. It's a baby step as far as, it's a baby
If
step as
that's
far as I'm
all, if that's
concerned.
all you got. And,
I'd be
and,
happy.
and, and, and we encourage every landscaper to buy one piece of equipment.
Yes, exactly.
Then that could
Yeah.
really get going, even if you have to give up the Sunday,
Yeah,
you
right,
know.
right,
the
right,
show,
right, right.
No, I agree with you, and I'd love to see an initiative with the state looking at this,
Yeah.
like solar panels,
Yeah.
I would too, and I was,
tax
I
incentives for
yeah.
these companies. to
I wasn't
transition.
kidding
Put me a little
about
carrot.
talking to Lamont about it, because I'm going to a fundraiser on the 21st.
Definitely talk to him.
And I will bring it up.
Yeah.
Because you know, I sort of said that tongue in cheek, but you know, why not? I'm
Why
giving him money. Why shouldn't I ask him a question? Like, why can't you?
And it falls
Be
into
more
his
specific.
environmental agenda perfectly.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
agree. Right, thank you all.
Indeed, I should write this out.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do not want to record everything that goes on in this show.